Knicks Film Schoolians, and everybody who's a purveyor of Knicks content on the internet. I'm Jeff Johnson, here with the Dean of Knicks Film School, the Substack savior, the man with 1,001 log lines, my guy, Jonathan Macri, in the building for Casual Friday Live. John, this is only the second episode of the season, so right now, after you, the bar is the ceiling. Is the roof. So we got you in the building. How you feeling today, man?
That's very silly of you to say. Man, you like bring so much energy to the top of the show, and I love it because that's like, I'm a little older than you. So I remember the days of like, Mike and the Mad Dog in their heyday, and Chris Russo would always start off the show with like that long drawn out, like, how you doing, everybody? And I remember when I was a kid, I was like, man, if I ever have a show, I'm going to start off episodes like that. And now I start off, I'm like, all right, let's talk about this stuff. What do we got going on? Drag me out of bed for this nonsense. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's great. It's great to be here on Casual Fridays with you. I love that we're doing this year. And I'm feeling good, man. It's like, everything right now, I think you could say this probably about most NBA teams, but certainly the Knicks, like everything is candy canes and gumdrops. Like it's cool. It's like I'm excited. It's like, I'll say this, like each we'll do the vibe check in a minute, but like each additional game gives me something really, it feels like it's something new to chew on, something to get worth getting excited about. So it's been cool.
I love it, man. And yeah, I like starting off with energy. If we did the Myers-Briggs test, I'm all the way skewed on the island, on Extrovert Island. So I like bringing it in. I like the energy. It's Friday and we get to talk about Knicks. So what's better than that, right? There's few things better than that in life. So I like to tap in with you, man. I like to tap in with everybody like we do on Casual Fridays. It is tradition to check the temperature, check the vibes right now. So how are the vibes vibing with you, John?
So the vibes for me, I wish I could get this into one word, but I there's no word to describe this. So I will just say the vibes for me are like the first week at a new school, I guess maybe like ninth grade, or maybe, you know what? That's actually, because ninth grade, you're young, it's nervous. It's honestly more like the first week of college. That's how the vibes are for me right now.
Moving week?
Yeah, it's moving week, where you're like, I remember my first day at college, and I arrived at college with a girlfriend back home, and a week later, I was a single man, because I remember when you move in week, it's like your eyes are darting left and right, and you're like, oh my God, is this heaven? What kind of magic is this? That's kind of how it feels right now for me, because like, look, however you felt about the trade, and obviously there are still people, I think most people have like kind of come around on it, regardless of what people's initial reaction was. But however you feel about it, it's new, it's different. It means we're going to get to see something like we've quite literally never seen here, or at the very least, not since the days of Patrick Ewing, like in terms of how the offense looks. And obviously that was a different sport back then. So like, yeah, that's kind of, I'm really excited for the season to start, but like I'm also really enjoying the preseason, and we have 3 preseason games left to go. I'm curious, like the last one was pretty good. I don't know if anything's going to live up to that hype, but it's been good, man.
Yeah, I love it, man. For me, I would say my vibes feel like a plant owner who's happy that they kept their plant alive after a week. They doubted you. They said that it couldn't be done, but your plant is not wilting. It's growing towards the sun. Yep. And it's thriving. And that's how I feel about my Knick fandom right now.
I love it.
Because there's been plenty times and plenty reasons for me to want to jump off ship. And I feel like a lot of fans are the same. But I think I spoke to Chris about this last week, but I'll run it back because I say it all the time. I come from an era where you root for your city and not a player. So that is where I was brought up. And of course I have my favorite players and I follow them, but I rep the greatest city in the world, so why not rep the teams? And I can understand with certain seasons and certain teams, they give you a lot of reasons why you may want to jump off the ship. But I felt like who else am I going to root for? Like, I know Knicks fans that went and rooted for the Celtics, and I don't know how that even happened. I can tell you, there's probably a few reasons, but I couldn't understand those reasons, or even for a rival in general. So for me to hop off this bandwagon, it would have took a lot. And I won't lie, there were times throughout my decades-long Knicks fandom that I was at the edge. And I pulled myself back just because I knew I'm not really trying to root for anybody else, and I want a rooting stake when I watch a basketball, so I'm going to root for my squad. And I, above all else, just wanted a team that had a plan, a team that had competent leadership, and that would make a concerted effort to make the team better every year and go for it when they needed to go for it, that would depower the memification of the New York Knicks and actually establish themselves, match the energy of the city. And I think that's the team that we have right now. Like I declared last season, the LOL Knicks era is over. Yeah. It is put the tombstone up, put the date, the sunrise date, the sunset date. The LOL Knicks era is over. But now we're in the era of expectations. And I love it because I'd rather be here than where we were before. So I'm loving this vibe right now.
It's definitely over for now. I mean, look, sports is cyclical. Like how many, you can count the franchises on one hand that go like multiple like 3, 4, 5 decades in a row without having a period of time where they're like, you know, like my beloved Steelers, like they're one of the exceptions. Like usually it's like the Patriots. Patriots were on top of the roost for, you know, almost 2 decades, and now they're at the bottom. Like it happens to the best of us. I'm happy that I feel like I'm at least now comfortable saying this is an era, right? Because like even like if you now we could like it's we're not at the point where we could step back and appreciate anything because they haven't really done much yet. But like this is now it's 4 seasons under this regime and this coach. Obviously a lot of the players have turned over, but it still feels like, hey, 3 playoffs in 4 years, like somewhat steady progress moving forward. That's why I feel comfortable calling it an era. And like, I'm happy you brought up the memification, the LOL Knicks thing, because that to me, that was always, for me at least, I don't know what this says about me, it was always harder than the losing. I could deal with sitting and watching a crappy basketball team and know that like, hey, we're a ways away. It was literally being the laughing stock of like the professional sports world that I could, that always just like, man, come on. This is, and for that to be so far in the rearview mirror now is, it's cool, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I see in the chat, y'all said my mic level was a little low. Tell me now. Y'all,
that's
y'all
better.
Hear me?
That's better. Good? I should have told you that.
Oh, that's fine. Good. I've been doing so. let me reveal the curtain so that y'all can see Oz real quick. I do a lot of stuff, and I swear this isn't tapping. I have a lot of gigs, right? So I do highlights. I do highlights for NBA.com. So if y'all hear my voice in NBA.com highlights, if y'all go to NBA.com see and watch the top 10s or the highlights, you may hear my voice. So I have to continuously adjust my gain because when I do highlights and it's at this level, it peaks. So now when I come in and everybody's like, "Yo, you're a little bit lower," I'm like, "Oh God, this is the plight of producing / hosting and doing all of this." You got to make sure everything's at a certain level because some systems this peaks, some systems is too low. So shout out to the KFS Nation for holding me down. And it's all good. It's all good. But that's what having great teammates are about. And that's it makes it apropos that we're talking about the Knicks and we're talking about great teammates because the KFS Nation held me down, let me know so that we didn't get 40 minutes into this and I would have been kicking myself because I would have sounded lower compared to you. Well, so, you know, John, you got the golden voice. So I have to adjust my gain accordingly, bro. I have to get some type of adjustment there.
No, it would be Andrew kicking me because he'd be like, "Why didn't you tell Jeff his mic was low?" And my response, as is the case every time he says like, "Why didn't you like say something?" I would be like, "Because I thought that's how it was supposed to be." Because my synapses, the sparks have gone out long ago. Jeff,
oh no,
yeah, they don't. It doesn't. Elevator doesn't go all the way to the top here. But I fake it pretty well. Anyway,
no, it's all good. It's all, trust me. On one of my other pods, my co-host Chrissy, that on our Power Pod, She all of it sounds the same to her. So my mic could be the MacBook mic, and she's like, "Oh, you sound good."
That's
and
me.
then when I listen to it in post, it sounds like I was recording from the other room, like I was throwing my voice like a ventriloquist. So now I'm like, dude. 5 minutes. Somebody tell me something. Then I'm looking at the chat like, guys, I know one of y'all do some type of production where you could have heard me, but neither here nor there. This is what teammates are about. Let's get into the weekly news, Matt, because this is one of the changes in the format for Casual Fridays. We do like a week in review and we break down some key points. So funny enough, my first note was the Knicks signed Moses Brown. Yeah. Then the Knicks waived Moses Brown. Grand opening, grand closing, Exhibit 10 deal. I guess he will start for your Westchester Knicks, coming to a place in Yonkers or wherever near you. So what did you think about those signs? What do you think they're doing with these? Is this just filling out the roster, whatnot?
So like in the last week, as you said, they signed Moses Brown and waived Moses Brown. They signed Boo Boy. I hope I got that pronunciation correct. And waived Boo Boy, and they also waived Damian Ba, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct, and Alex O'Connell a week or a little bit more than a week after they had signed them. Ukiki and Warren are still on Exhibit 10 deals. I think they're just, like you said, they're just setting up their roster for Westchester, right? This is all about setting up your roster for Westchester, but the way the Knicks have done it in years past is the way they're doing it now, which is by signing them to these camp deals. You're allowed to give them a little bit of extra money, and it kind of, secures doesn't actually secure their Westchester rights, but it makes it more likely that they'll sign with you. Yeah, I mean, Moses Brown's a guy who when they signed him, I think it raised some eyebrows because he's been an NBA player, and he's a big. So anybody who's a big who comes anywhere within 500 yards of the Knicks, it's like, oh, what are they thinking? I mean, look, stash him in Westchester, see what happens. He's too old to be. That's the more interesting part for me is so that at some point they're going to wind up converting, probably Huck Porty from a two-way contract to an NBA contract because they need 14 guys. So who's going to get that other two-way spot? It can't be Brown because he has too many years. I'm pretty sure he has too many years of service time. Maybe it's one of these other guys, maybe it's, Alex O'Connell or something like that. Or Boo Boy. Like, I don't know. But it's like, a lot of people don't care about this stuff. I find the back end roster stuff's fascinating because you never know. You never know when you're gonna Alex Caruso was a two-way guy once upon a time, right? Playing a lot of games in the G League, and now he's back in Oklahoma City, except he's wearing the big boy uniform. So you never know when you're gonna land on someone. It's just a lot of times guys just need opportunity.
100%. And when I saw it, I had that same thought. I said, okay, this is like low risk, high reward. Worst case, you go to Westchester. Yeah. Best case, you have more depth that I'm sure is going to be needed throughout the season. The other news that's probably more pressing, definitely more pressing, we get confirmation from Shams that Mitch is going to be out. He's sorry for 2024, and he's out for the remainder of the year, and hopefully to be back early 25. Beggs reported on this earlier. He kind of gave that range, and Shams confirmed it. So how are you on the scale for Mitch being out for the rest of the year, for the rest of this calendar year, and hopeful to come back in January?
To me, so let's work backwards if we could. If we could work backwards. It was I'm trying to think when the Walker Kessler rumors first started. I think it was after the draft, but it was before free agency. It was definitely before free agency where the first one of those rumors hit. So once that should have been a red flag to all of us that the Knicks don't, and we didn't even know about Hartenstein yet, but which even is more to my point. Oh, wait a minute. This is a red flag that the Knicks are not anticipating Mitchell Robinson being a significant part of what they do this year, how long he's going to be around for. And then, rumors for trading for a center kept coming out. And then finally they released the news or news broke, or however you want to put it, that he was going to be out until December, January. And now this report so relatively soon after the news broke, to the beat guys that Mitch is going to be out until December, January. It's we keep pushing it back. I I don't know. I mean, this may sound crazy to some people. I don't know how I'm supposed to sit here and factor in a when, right? Like, when Mitch comes back, we will be this. I'm just like, all right, if he comes back and if he looks good, great. What a wonderful bonus that'll be to have. And if he doesn't, well, we have to figure it. Like, I'm approaching the season as if we have to figure out like what we have right now. That's the roster. That's what we're going to have to deal with. And if anything, maybe the Mitchell Robinson contract is something that comes in handy before the trade deadline. That's my approach to it, to be honest with you.
Right. I'm looking at Mitch like something I order off of Amazon that gives you the range. It's not Prime. It's not Prime. They give you the range. And then you start getting the email updates like, yo, climate, everything is going on. It might be the 13th. Then afterwards, oh, I'm so sorry. If you want to cancel, you can, but otherwise, just hold on. It'll be there soon. That's kind of how I looked at Mitch at this point. And it's sad, right? It's frustrating. It's sad. I know it's got to be frustrating for him, but then this opens up the door to asking ourselves, can the Knicks rely on him to be there when they need him, right? And I hate to be as reductive as it is, but we know why he was out. Embiid decided to become Kurt Angle and go after Mitch's ankle, cause those fractures, eventually leading to him being out for the rest of the playoffs. But it's getting to the point where he can't really shake that fragile label. And I mean fragile by injury prone. I know people can contextualize that two different ways. Injury prone to where he looks like a strong dude. And I believe he is a strong dude, but he has those things, those little things that when they arise, he could be out for up until a month. So I think that's what precipitated the Cat trade as well. When you hear all the reporting and everything like that, they needed a 5. They can't rely on him. He's a nice to have. If he's going to be there, we're going to rock out where we're in even better position. But we got to make sure as an organization that we are at least an equal position that we would have made had you been here. We got to at least match it. And it stinks, but if they're going to keep him this year, I say take as much time as you need until he's ready, because I'd rather have him on the squad from February on as opposed to having him rush back and then be out for a month, then come back and then be out a couple of weeks. I think that stretch run, I look at him like that reliever that you pick up mid-season towards the end, right before the postseason run. That's how I'm looking at. He's Doug Peterson right now.
If you've made the moves the Knicks have made and you are sitting back and you are relying on hope, then you have committed organizational malpractice. They have to put themselves in a position, and I think they have arguably put themselves in a position where they're going to be okay. Whatever happens with Mitch, it's just going to be a matter of the thing that a lot of people don't really want to talk about, which is like eventually he may be worth more as an outgoing $14 million salary than he is as a player. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
100%. That's John Macri. We talking Casual Friday Live, episode 2 on this season. Talking all things Knicks preseason. You gave you your weekly news. Get your super chats in. Get your regular chats in. Got questions? Send it to us. I'll get it up here. We're going to go to our rewind. Talking about the week that was. Knicks 2-0 in the postseason so far. They beat Charlotte in a thriller that didn't need to be a thriller because it's postseason. 111-109. And the Washington Wizards 117-94. Macri, let me start with you and ask. Let me start with you as if there's 15 people on the call, right?
We can find someone else.
Right. The voices in my head do not count. If you had one thing that you think fans should be really hyped about, like you come out of this and you're super excited about after these 2 games, what do you think it would be?
That's a good question. This is genuinely really tough between 2 different things for me.
There's no rules. Everything is fake anyway. There's no rules. You do whatever you want.
Listen,
give me a couple.
As anyone who has heard my rants in support of Tom Thibodeau know, I am a rule follower. I believe in rules. Rules are important. Rules govern us.
Well, the game tells you what to do. And if the game is telling you got multiple, then we got to know how to adjust. Right, John?
So then I'll go with both. In no particular order, it's either got to be the chemistry that we already saw from Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, specifically in that third quarter against Washington in the pick and roll, and the variety of ways that those guys look like they were elevating each other and just looking great. And then the other is the defense. And again, I'm going to the Washington game. The Charlotte game, it was cool to see them all together, but I personally don't feel like I learned anything in the 14 minutes that the starters played. And then, what did I learn? I learned that Deuce McBride is ready to hit the ground running. That's cool. It's for me though, it's not nearly as cool as the other things involving the starters and how this team navigates the defense with Brunson and Towns out there. Are those guys good defenders? No, they're not good defenders. Brunson is physically limited and Cat has obviously had his issues. But both of those guys try. And Brunson, I don't have to tell anybody about Brunson, the effort he puts in and how he's, he tries to be crafty and obviously, draw the offensive fouls that he draws and all that kind of stuff. But Cat too, man, again, I know it's going to be a broken record before long, but the fact that he could go out there last season and do a credible job against Kevin Durant, and then do a credible job against Nikola Jokic in what was a very specifically tailored role, and Gobert's helping off the corner and all that stuff. I get it. But that tells me that this is not Trae Young out there. He's not the 7-foot Trae Young. And I think the 7-foot part is important because just by being a very large dude who's pretty smart, I think he has good basketball IQ, and he kind of knows where to be and he knows how to use his size at times, not always, but at times. And then it's all right, so if that's what we're working with as our low points, well, what can our higher end defenders do? And I think that's, to me, what the Washington game screamed. And granted that the Wizards are terrible and they might win, 12 games this year, but I just was I think I'm talking myself into I think the defense was slightly more exciting to me than even the Cap Brunson thing.
I like that. And we didn't compare notes beforehand because those were my top two also. But I'll lean on the side of the Cat and Brunson pick and roll. Here's a couple of things, John, that I saw that did hype me, that I was super excited for. One, I think that's the calmest 23 points I ever seen Jalen Brunson drop in a Knicks uniform. I think he was 6 of 10 or 7 of 10 from the field. 10. Yeah. 7 of 10. 10 shots. 10 shots, 23 points. If I told you he scored 23 when you were watching that game, you'd probably say, really? That's one of those games where if you're in the building and you look up, you'd say, oh, wow, he has 23 points. It didn't even seem like he was shooting like that. That, I'll never forget. I went to OKC Knicks for a Christmas Day game, and it was in the third quarter. I look up, and Russell Westbrook has a triple-double, and I promise you, John, I don't know how it looked on TV, but if you gave me $1 million and said, gave me whatever odds in favor of him not having a triple-double, I'd say he's probably close, but I don't think he has it yet. And he had it comfortably. That was when he was helping the ball guys and the staff clean the front. I think something spilled, and he's like, nah, you gotta put your put your back into it. He's always good with that. Being playful and cool with the people that are the actual staff, which is cool to see. But that's how I felt watching Jalen Brunson. The other thing, looking at some numbers, right? Cat as the roll man and pick and roll averaged 2 possessions and 1.44 points per possession off of 2 possessions a game. This is from NBA.com stats in 62 games? And Brunson, he had 10 possessions as the ball handler and 1 point, a little bit over a point per possession, right? I'm looking at the way they ran that pick and roll, and I think those numbers for both of them could skyrocket. First of all, Cat, get ready to pick and get ready to roll. And get ready to actually set a pick. Because if you don't, your coach is going to get on you. Which I saw he's actually making contact.
Oh, yeah.
I already see he extends the arms, so I've prepared myself mentally for those offensive fouls when he extends the arms and rolls off. But I'll take it because I see the dedication to set the pick. And it was just, I was giddy with joy and just a maniacal laugh when I watched the defense pick who they're poisoned in real time. When they're rolling and both of them are coming at you at once and it's a 2-on. They're creating a mini 2-on-1 break in the paint when they roll. It's insane. Like, to me, that's one thing to be really excited about, because Brunson getting possessions where he scores easily will be to the benefit of this team, because he won't have to work so hard. He won't have to elevate his usage. He won't take as many bumps and bruises, because you already know he's going to try to draw every offensive foul. So if you can limit the amount of contact that he has to take to score, I think he'll be more fresh for the stretch run and even within games. What do you think, John?
I mean, I love the point you made about the potential for those guys to have better numbers in the pick and roll than they ever had before, because if you look at Brunson, you could honestly even go back to Dallas. Dallas obviously had elite spacing for Brunson to work with, but like those were like the Dwight Powells of the world, like they were elite, like, but traditional rim running fives, right? And the one thing Brunson is not really great at, he's not like the best lob thrower, and which is why I think the Brunson Mitch pick and roll like never really got going too much, because that's not Brunson's specialty, and you can't throw it to Mitch and ask Mitch to make a dribble move, or throw it to him a few feet from the basket and expect him to do like a little jump hook. That's not what Mitch did, and that's why I think when Hartenstein came in last year, it was such an improvement, and now this is like Hartenstein on steroids. And on top of that, like, the spacing has improved, and then on Cat's end, like, look, I know Cat had a lot of years at center, but I made this point, I think, after maybe the Washington game. He's never played with a pick and roll ball handler who commands the attention of the defense like this. And unless you want to say Anthony Edwards, and he was not Anthony Edwards' pick and roll partner, because Rudy Gobert was. So like the two of them being able to get to this point at this stage of their careers, I mean, I just don't know how you could not be excited. It's wild.
100%. I agree with you, man. And I watched complex offense from the Knicks, and they had multiple options. We could have been in a studio or at home betting who's going to get the shot, because I honestly didn't know. Yeah. These are the type of ball movement. I forgot. It might have been you that said it, or on a post game, or one of the squad who said this may emulate the beautiful game that the Spurs had. I feel like I heard it.
I wish I could take credit for that. But
right. It might have been so many excellent content creators out there. I apologize in advance, but you left an indelible mark on me. I just forgot your name, so I apologize. It was the meaning. It was the impact of the meaning and not the name. But yeah, that beautiful game Spurs, the early 2010 Spurs, when they were just moving the ball and they continue to move the ball and find the open man, they can recreate that here. And just watching the ball movement in general, I was just taken aback by how easy it looked. And they hadn't played together. So it just felt like five dudes who knew how to play motion basketball and run all those type of Spain pick and roll horns, all the elevated basketball talk. They know how to run all of that and execute it, just because you play with those type of players. It's similar to pickup ball. If you play pickup with people who played organized ball, you know the concepts. So y'all might run a play and you've never played together before, but it just forms into a play because everybody knows their roles and their spots. And that's what I feel like I'm watching when I watch the Knicks, at least over 2 preseason games. Now, on the flip side, John, was there anything that you saw, one thing that might give you pause or might worry you a bit, or concern? I'll say concern, because I don't think Charlotte and Washington giving you worry and nobody got hurt. That's scary. So a concern, possible concern, or concern in general. Or if you do have a worry, like, share it.
It's not a concern. It's not a worry. It is an acceptance of the fact that we're like, the bench is going to continue to be something that needs to be figured out. And if we're being honest, like, the bench has been, and when I say bench, I mean the non-Brunson minutes have been an issue. They've never figured it out. Like, the last time the bench was the strength of the team, like a real strength of the team, was when Jalen Brunson was not yet signed, when he was still playing in Dallas. That was obviously the Kemba season, where everybody was just counting the minutes until the bench got in because the starters were so bad together. But since then, and I know, like, we all love Emmanuel Quickly, and like, I feel like those RJ plus bench units like were kind of romanticized. Like the numbers never bore out that they held teams down. Like defensively, they were really good because Isaiah Hartenstein was a part of a lot of those and everything. But like they never really scored. And so I don't. And look, Deuce McBride only played one game, and the game he played, they were using a 5-man bench unit, which you're never going to see. It's always going to be a starter out there. So that's why I say it's not a concern yet, not even close, because we haven't even seen them give what will actually be like whatever their bench plan is for the season. We haven't even seen it yet, like through 2 games. But that makes me just wonder, like, okay, when are we going to see it, and what's it going to be? And what is it going to look like? And are they going to be able to score effectively? Or is it going to be, okay, whenever Brunson sits, we're just going to keep trying to win these rock fights, which is essentially what they've tried to do the last 2 years. And to their credit, they've won a lot of those rock fights. But like, I want to see it. I'm still curious. That's it.
Yeah. I think I echo your one concern, and I'll even go as far as to say, to full circle it, does Mitch upset the apple cart a bit when he comes back? If they find a rhythm and they're set, and they try to integrate him back, how does it work? Because you legit got, I think, 10 people who can make outside the starting 5.
Yeah.
You have about 5 people who can make a legit case right now after 2 preseason games that they should get run. They should get rotation run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is an embarrassment of riches to have. Like these are the first world problems that I prayed for as a Knicks fan. I didn't want the third world, the second world. I could have took second world problems. I didn't want the third world problems. I didn't want the extinction level event problems. I didn't want the dystopian future.
Album, by the way.
What have it?
That's name of a Busta Rhymes album.
Yes, okay. Hip Hop Macri is back in the building, ladies and gentlemen. You already know
my guy. That's why I had to shout him out.
Some of the best videos you'll ever watch, and videos were things that used to come on demand. Like they used to happen at set interval times, not whenever you wanted to pull them up. Google TRL. Google 106 in Park and have your mind blown when people used to meet at one time to watch videos
just
on TV.
Just to see what the top 10 would be. It was an event. It was so cool.
If you think there's arguments about whether Jalen Brunson is a pair of lifts in his shoes away from being MVP, think about the top 10 of those music videos. But yeah, you have those guys who are vying for the position. So this is a concern, but this is a great concern to have. Now, something that surprised you, Mac, that you didn't see coming.
Yeah. I guess for me, I don't know. Well, it's funny because I wrote up, I should say, Kolek. I did some preseason predictions before the Knicks played a preseason game. And I think my preseason prediction was that one of my preseason predictions was that Tyler Kolek would win a rotation spot out of camp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel great about that anymore because I just think I don't know. I think Cam Payne is a real professional. Tibbs seems to really like him. And the thing that has really changed since I wrote that is that he has really talked up Shamet. And Shamet has I know he didn't shoot well in the last game, but like Tibbs seems to like him, and we know Tibbs likes his vets and the whole thing. That said, even though I made that prediction, I don't think I was prepared for Kolek to come out and look as savvy as he has. Like, I'm sure there has been a rookie mistake that someone with a better eye when watching film can identify. If there's been a couple rookie mistakes, I haven't seen them. He just plays with the poise of a guy who's been he's like a 10-year vet. And like Benji Ritholtz, who does, so much here, including film work, put out a tweet today showing Kolek using like multiple different types of fakes on one pick and roll to bait the defense into, and ultimately opening up space for him to drop a pass to Huck Porty, who had an easy dunk. Like, and I see tweets around the NBA. People are starting to notice. He's a Like he's 23. That's the other thing. It's like they drafted an older rookie, so it's not like the sort of thing like, hey, you got to sit and wait a couple. Like I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but at some point, that dude is going to be playing hashtag meaningful minutes for the Knicks.
So you're saying he's Brock Purdy to campaigns Jimmy Garoppolo right now?
Man, that's a comp.
That
I have Brock Purdy on my fantasy team. He had a good night last night. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's the backup quarterback in New York of the New York Knicks right now with that buzz. I said it on my channel. I said it before. It's like he's been here before. It's like a baby who looks precocious beyond their years and just looks like somebody's uncle right out the womb. It's like this baby's been here before. Tyler Kolek feels like he's been here before, and I made a bold claim, and I'll put it on wax here on KFS so that y'all could clip this, y'all could do whatever. I don't care. I think if he does get the hashtag meaningful minutes, if he gets meaningful minutes, and that's my caveat, if he has enough tick that he gets, I think he'll establish himself as fringe one of the best passers in the NBA. I think if he gets enough of a body of work, he'll have enough. Yeah. I'll tell you this much. He'll have enough where a year down the line, 2 years down the line, someone's going to say, I didn't know Tyler Kolek could ball like that. Like, well, when did this happen? And I can say, I told you so. I put you on. I heard this track before you heard it, and I told you about it. So I putting you on first. And it's just because of his poise. Like, yes, okay, let's see it against first stringers. Well, he probably wouldn't be playing against first stringers. So I think it's an easy comp to make against backups. He sets people up. He's the type of player that I would want to play with on the basketball court, like on pickup, where the minute you watch him play, it's like, yeah, I pick him up because if you get open, he's going to find you. He's going to get you the ball. He's going to put you in the best position to win. He looks like he can run an offense. And this is kudos to the front office for believing in older rooks, where in this era, if you're 21, you're over the hill. You feel me?
But it's really smart by the Knicks because of where they are and we didn't know this as much at the time of the draft. We sure as heck know it now, that like the ability to get cost-effective talent in the door that could play rotation minutes for you is as important for them as it is for any team in the league over the next basically 4 years, because that's kind of the runway that they've given themselves. The thing with Kolek, like, I think the realistic goal should probably be like a Tyus Jones, basically like the best backup point guard in the NBA. Again, this is a goal. This is a goal. It's not saying this is what he's going to be, but this should be the goal. And I would set the ceiling higher, except it's really hard for a point guard who is smaller and, will have some defensive challenges and isn't like a shot creator. It's like tough to call that guy like a consistent starter, but who the hell knows, man? Like that's what I said. Same thing about Jalen Brunson when he got drafted right around the spot that Kolek got drafted at. So I don't want to put any ceilings on him. I want to see him play more. That's the thing, is like anybody who's watched him these two games, like you want to see more and see what he could do.
100%. And the fact that he compares his game to Brunson and he eschews the TJ McConnell comparison. He says, I'm more like Brunson. If you're Jalen Brunson, to hear somebody come into the league and compare themselves to you, I know that's gotta feel good. He can front with the toxic humility all he wants. I know that feels good to hear the impact that you're making on other players where they want to comp themselves to you.
But you know what Jalen Brunson was in college? He was a son of a bitch. Nobody wanted to play him. He was a pain in the butt to play when he was at Villanova. And guess what Tyler Kolek was at Marquette? He was a pain in the butt to play. And he has the hardware to prove it because he's obviously had a lot of success in college. So I bet you he would have made that comp if he had gotten drafted by any other team too, which is I really believe that.
Yeah, for sure. Y'all, if y'all want to get y'all comment up here, hashtag Casual Friday in the chat with your question or your comment, and I'll get it up. Super Chats, I see you. I'm going to get you up in a little bit once I give what surprised me. Thank you for joining us once again. Casual Friday live with John Macri in the building, the Dean of Knicks School, coming through for an assembly, if you will, in Knicks Film School. You know what I mean? This is Casual Fridays. We got the juice boxes out. We about to hoop after school. Ain't no homework being done. We'll see it on Sunday night. Well, Sunday night, if we're lucky, right? Here's one thing that surprised me, Mac, and I feel whack in a sense bringing this up because it makes me feel like it makes me sound like I don't watch ball like that. But I didn't know Cat was this good. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I looked at the numbers. I remember you definitely said this one. The player, one of 5 players to average 23 points and have a 58% EFG with Steph, Giannis, KD, Jokic, 23, 11 boards, 3 assists, career true shooting percentage of 62, almost 63%. And this was something that I spoke about before, and we've had conversations about it. I think that his personality diminishes his actual game. Where when I talk to Knicks fans of all ages, and I ask them, what don't you like about this cat trade to the Knicks? It has nothing to do with Devo. No. Has nothing to do with Randall. The first 5 things are about this man as a perceived person. Oh, he got too many voices. I think he's soft. I think he's a sucker. He's corny. He did all of these things that had nothing to do with the court. And I realized there are a lot of similarities between the Knicks as an organization and Cat when you talk about perception. That the perception out there in NBA Twitter land and just in the landscape in general doesn't correlate to what's actually happening on the court. And I think they're in a position where no matter what, you'll have people that use prior information to inform themselves on what's happening currently, right? Like, I remember I was watching him against Denver. I was watching him against Dallas. And I was like, damn, y'all told me this guy was trash, that he couldn't really do too much. And he looked like he's giving the Nuggets work. He's guarding up Jokic. I thought he was soft. And my thing is, you don't have to be rah-rah fighting or whatever to not be considered soft. You could not be a pushover and still be a lover and not a fighter, right? Like there's certain things with him. And I think being in New York is the best medium risk, high reward move that he could make, because there is no better advocate for an athlete than the New York sports fan base, because we will not let anybody else punk you. If national media, if other local media, if anybody with a mic or podcast equipment or streaming software tries to say something that ain't true, Knicks Nation is in their mentions heavy. They're going to advocate for you. They're going to support you. They're going to pull out facts and receipts. But you got to ball out. You do got to ball out. But they will let people know, nah, you're not going to get away with that. Yeah, we were saying it too. We might have been saying it too when he wasn't here. But guess what? He's our family now. So you can't talk to him. And the other thing that I love about him is that he's a Knicks fan also. So he already knows the stakes. So what Knicks fan doesn't dream about being able to affect the outcome of games actually on the court by playing? And he gets this opportunity. Garrett Cole is going through that right now with the Yankees. He gets to affect the outcome of games as a Yankee fan. Like there's no better feeling, I don't think, is than an athlete to play on the team that you root for. So that is one thing that surprised me, is just the ease in which he scores and the potential that I can see. The other thing, man, I saw it up close in the playoffs last year. Campaign is a dog, man. Oh yeah, I'll be forgetting about Campaign too. Like people might diminish it because he's a rotation player, but I think that was a savvy move by the Knicks to get a guy that has irrational confidence. I don't care if he looks like a transformer or like one of those, like Mr. Fantastic or Plastic Man, where you can adjust his arm to shoot and it's still gonna go in. I do not care. That dude can ball. And I think he's the perfect guy to have to back up Brunson and to mentor Kolek as well, so that he can learn some other things too. And he's the type of guy, if you're down, he was a pest against the Knicks. And he made a lot of shots watching. I was getting so upset because I'm like, y'all letting Cameron Payne do this? Campaign? But he was affecting it. They weren't letting him do anything. He was taking it. So those are the type of guys I like having on our squad.
I remember two summers ago, it was before leading up to the summer where they signed Brunson. I was writing newsletters about different potential targets, and I think Campaign was coming up on free agency. Maybe I was writing about him as a trade target, but I was like, maybe Campaign is the next starting point guard of the New York Knicks, because he was coming off of like doing some nice things with Phoenix and really resuscitating his career, and now here we are. Just on the Cat thing, real quick, like I really do believe this. That, like, yes, there are super duper stars who are situation independent. Wherever they go, they're going to look great. And Cat is not that level of player. But if you are one level down from that, I think you can be a star, and you could be an all-star level player and even an all-NBA level player, and it still might depend on the situation you're in. And he is, and honestly, I think back to, this is going to sound maybe a little bit of a stretch, I think back to Porzingis last year with the Celtics, and how that dude for 82 games plus the playoffs was just playing with like utter joy. And just he's like, listen, I get to go out here. I got to fire up some threes. I get to, play in my drop coverage because I got all these defenders around me. And he looks like a rock star, comes in, lights the world on fire in a finals game. Like, Cat needs to do a little bit more than that because like the Knicks don't have that level of surrounding talent, I think. But still, I think the potential exists for him to come here and be like, man, this is the easiest that basketball has ever been for me. And that could be a really good thing.
100%. I think so too. And I think don't got the Celtics legacy, don't got the insulation of going there and having lowered expectations. I think he has a bit different expectations.
But there was pressure. There was a lot of pressure on that Celtics team to win last year. Not even like the next year. It was last year they had to win.
But I think if you go to the blame game, John, Porzingis would have been fourth.
If that.
Where here, this is where the medium risk can go to high risk because
they're not blaming Brunson.
No, he has plot armor. Brunson has plot armor right now with a big C on his chest, right? Yep. He has the plot armor. It's gonna be Cat, and I think Cat knows it. Yep. I think it's gonna be Cat. If OG gets hurt, he's gonna be a GOAT. Josh Hart has plot armor in the sense that we blame him anyway, and he doesn't get it's not negative. It's like we know he's gonna do something to the point where he even says, "Y'all know I'm gonna do one dumb thing a game. Yes. Please give me some grace." So that's it's reverse psychology type plot armor that he has with us. It's very fascinating. So I think the expectations are a little different, and he's gonna have to make something happen. Hey, he can also say him and Brunson are the only two that, well, OG as well, but one of a handful that got to a conference final. So he has that. You know what I mean? For whatever it's worth, he has it. So he should come in a little bit more secure. And I do think also, and I said it before, I think he is the perfect personality fit for this team. 1,000%. These guys, these personalities, these goofballs, he is like a king amongst kings. And he doesn't have to be him. He doesn't have to be something that he's not. He can lean into Cat, a peak Cat. I don't know if he should go full Cat. He might have to find an adjustment. No. We need to adjust the levers, like move the sliders a little bit, but I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to fit just right.
I hearing you say this, I'm like, wait a minute. We're forgetting about Campaign and Mikal Bridges. Both those guys have been to a finals, don't forget.
Right. We have Phoenix.
They have a lot of They have a lot of playoff pedigree on this team all of a sudden, which is wild because that is not something that they used to have. Anyway.
And let's get to the super chats. Before that, Landry Shamet also has to finish his story because apparently there's a Shamet curse that people have said that when he gets on teams, they don't do well. Well, here's the bright side. The Shamet curse goes to the second round. Knicks have already been to the second round, so this is like irresistible force meets a movable object. We can reverse the curse. If any city can reverse a curse, it's this one. So we'll have our warding spells go off in Madison Square Garden before the season, and you'll be all right. All right, let's get to the super chats. First up, someone, I don't know if you're familiar with him, John. Robert
I'm
W.
not
Cross.
familiar with this person at all.
Yeah. New listener to KFS, Robert Cross. Yes, congrats on joining KFS, JJ. The question is for It's Your Boy John. I love that is your official title. It's Your Boy John. Does he grimace more when he sees a post-game super chat from Kevin or me? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. This is big. This might send seismic waves through Knicks Film School.
It's Kevin easily.
Wow.
It's easily Kevin because Kevin will throw out a trade that he has thought about enough, and it is plausible enough that I will actually need to sit there and consider it, even though it is objectively crazy. So, and Robert, bless his heart, does not put me through that. Only Kevin does that. So I love and appreciate Kevin for that. But no, both of these guys are my faves.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Rob. All right. Next, Hans, two black kings, / return of the Black Creed, # New York forever.
But my tan is gone, and my summer tan is gone. All those weeks in Cali are for naught because I'm just back to being pale, and that's not.
Oh man, you have to get like peak Scott Steiner and get the tanning booth and just come back every week, and everybody's gonna be like, "The hell is going on?" You'll be in Technicolor, John. You'll be in Technicolor. Yeah. Speaking of folks that you love hearing from, the immortal Kevin Danishevsky. What's up, John? I have a bone to pick with you.
Of course.
You've written eloquent praise for iHeart / Randall. But I feel like you've lumped IQ in with RJ, and it is unfair. He was a great Knick, and he deserves a newsletter. He's very indignant, John.
Nobody fakes indignancy like Kevin Danishevsky. I first of all, I think Kevin is saying all of this tongue in cheek. I have a lot of respect and love for RJ Barrett. My here's the thing, like what is it? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I had a lot of issues with RJ Barrett. Like, when I think back to the RJ era, and I think I'm always gonna kind of lump in the IQ and RJ eras together because they didn't come at the same time, but like they came within a year of each other when they obviously left together. But like I have nothing but love for those guys, and I have nothing but love for that time because I view both of them and the time that they were here, and I think Randall may fall into the same boat. I don't know, it's too recent, where it's like we wouldn't be here today without the people that helped us get here, and like they're not anywhere near where they are today without those guys. Hartenstein's a little different, and you could even hear in like the way Josh Hart was talking about him today. I mean, again, Josh Hart was kind of kidding, but talking about like DiVincenzo getting traded and the whole thing, he's like, blame Hartenstein. Like that was the one where it was like, man, maybe that guy was just supposed to be a Knick for 10 years, and because the CBA is what it is, and there's rules, and again, respect the rules. It's like, and I don't blame Hartenstein one bit, not one iota, but. Yeah, he falls in a little bit of a different category for me.
Hartenstein is not Hartenstein. I think it's Stein or Stein.
I think it's Stein, but I always say Stein. I could be wrong.
Right. So Hartenstein is not a Knick because somebody kidnapped CJ McCollum, tied him in a basement, and had him watch Western Conference Finals footage of Portland and Golden State, all the playoff series for 3 days straight until he said, never again. I'm not going through this. We're blowing this thing up. But yeah, it's kind of sick, and that's something that they're probably going to look at along with the Brock Aller clauses in the next CBA, where they try to close loopholes or perceived loopholes or whatever. So I think when they originally thought about it, it sounds like a good concept in theory to increase parity. But when the parity helps the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have revolutionized parity and the rules to be able to set themselves up for this moment, that's when you kind of got to think, okay, maybe there's something different that can happen there. I don't know. But I can also see if the team is willing to pay their free agent whatever they want to pay them. Yeah. Let them make the decision. But I also understand the non-bird rights and the bird rights. And he just, like, it's almost like they said he blew up too quickly. Because if he didn't, then you would have been able to re-sign him for something lower.
I think it was just, look, a rule that came into existence right around when I was born. It did not, the usage of that rule here, or the usage of that restriction here, I guess is the better way to say it, does not really have anything to do with there's so many different factors involved that has nothing to do with why that rule was instituted to begin with. That's, I think, the part that was frustrated, but like, look, rules are rules, and like everybody benefits from them sometimes. Sometimes people don't benefit from them. So it's all cyclical. What goes around comes around.
100%. Next one, Husu, what's up, bro? My hot take is this year will be Cat's best statistical year. Might be warm. How do you guys feel about Hart starting over Deuce?
I've gone on record already. I think it's the right move, and I think that is because I think Hart does all the dirty work, that you need someone in the starting five who could do the dirty work, and he's going to do all of it. You know, we had Alan Hahn on this week, and he's like talking about, hey, like, could Josh Hart lead the Knicks in rebounding? Could he average double-digit rebounds? Which I don't think is completely insane. And there's a bunch of other stuff he does too. And also Deuce, like, you want that guy at this point getting the ball. Like, you want him putting up shots. Like, that's actually, it's wild to say this about a guy who came in and had like a 30 effective field goal percentage or whatever it was as a rookie. But like, that's what they need from him the most. They're going to need his scoring off the bench. And I'm looking up Cat's best statistical season. So I don't know how you want to define Cat's best statistical season. His best effective field goal percentage in a year was an even 60. That was in the 1920 season. He averaged 26.5 points. That's also the most that he ever scored. 4.5 assists. Like, that's probably his best statistical season. But he only played 35 games, and I'm pretty sure the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves were bad that year. They finished 19-45. So like, it kind of gets lost. I could see it. I could see him having his most efficient season.
Yeah, I could see a double-double, averaging a double-double.
Oh, for sure.
He looks like that was something that surprised me going back to what we were talking about before. He was aggressive on defense and getting to the boards a little something. It seems like he was doing a little bit of everything. And it also seems like they're trying to figure out their spots, like who's going to do what.
Yes,
and you can see them working through the progression. Like, okay, if this shot goes up, they might have to bring back the mellow scream to properly orchestrate who's going to grab a rebound at what time. Like Josh Hart should bring back the mellow fuck out of here rebound. He should bring those back.
He got one of the he grabbed the rebound from Cat.
Yeah. I saw that
in the second game. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Hush. All right, let's get to a few more comments before we get out of here. My 2 cents, given how virtually everyone is putting Knicks number 2 behind the Celtics, are we sleeping on how tough the Sixers might be with a healthy Embiid, Maxey, and PG? How will Cat do there? I'll let you rock with that.
I'm gonna piss off Robert Cross because he hates when I praise Joel Embiid. Look, we're not. This is not a question about how is Joel Embiid going to hold up in the last 5 minutes of a tight playoff game. This is a question about, like, what could this team be during the regular season? And, like, in case we forgot, Joel Embiid, if he stays healthy, which, like, that's the qualifier that my 2 cents gives. Like, how tough a healthy version of this team, like, if all three of their big three, like, played 65, 70 games, like, Embiid is a regular season monster. He won an MVP, and he was on track to win another one last year. So, yeah, I do think that we're sleeping on it a little bit. I want to see. This is going to sound weird. I want to see their depth in action. Like, I like some of the guys that they signed. Like, I like Eric Gordon for what they got him for. You know, I like even Reggie Jackson for, like, again, there's a minimum signing. It's like no harm, no foul. But I want to see it actually, like, are they going to be able to figure out the staggering between the big three, and, you know, what's going to happen when, like, Embiid misses time or Paul George misses time and all that stuff. So I want to see it. But do I think people are, like, brushing them off as a possibility to be, like, if you told me the Sixers won the East in terms of finished with the best record in the East, I wouldn't. That's fine. I could see it happening.
Yeah, 100%. So here's the thing with me. I don't know when's the last time I've seen a healthy Joel Embiid in the playoffs. I rack my brain where he didn't have something. He always has something. And now that he's determined to not play 65 games and he's trying to rest himself as much as possible.
Great point.
Maybe that makes a healthy Embiid show up in the playoffs. I also know the Knicks did not have a healthy Julius Randle. The Knicks didn't have a healthy, I was about to call him Mitch Richmond. That's hilarious. Mitch Robinson, right? They didn't have healthy guys. The Sixers got the healthiest version of the Knicks in the playoffs, and they were still missing or didn't have, Bogey went out in game 4.
Yeah, that's right.
He went out.
I forget that.
Broke his ankle and was done for the rest of the series. They lost bodies in the series, right? They lost bodies, and they still were able to win. It probably took one more game than it should have, but they were able to win. So now Sixers added Paul George. Knicks added Cat and Mikal Bridges. All things being healthy, the logic tells me this should not be as much of an issue as the names are making it an issue. Now, of course, you got to play the games. You got to develop your chemistry. We got to see what the on-court product is. So I won't be that presumptuous. But what I will say is, if everything breaks the way I think it should break, I'm not going to sleep on the Sixers, but I'm not going to lose sleep on them either.
I wonder if there will be a genuine race for the 1 seed in the East. And when I say that, I mean, if people, your mileage may vary on Milwaukee. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that Milwaukee is not part of like the elite group of East teams, and none of the other lower teams, your Indianas, your Cleveland's, your Orlando's, like jump up and like take a step up in weight class. I wonder if there's going to be a race for the 1 seed purely to avoid playing the other one of the 3 top teams in the second round. And like, so for instance, like Boston last year, they got the winner of Cleveland, Orlando in round 2. And it was like, oh, great. They didn't have to worry about anything until the conference finals. And then it turned out they really didn't even have to worry about much in the conference finals. But yeah, I wonder if that's how the East is going to shake out, or if we're going to get like, Boston's a runaway number 1. And then there's like 5 teams after that. They're all in the same, pie. I could see it going in any number of directions.
So you're saying, in other words, a reverse tank, unlike what we saw last season when everybody was running from the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to potentially face the Sixers. That was so nasty, man.
Absolutely.
But I could see what you're saying too, because I think it's going to get into that last month in April. It's going to be a lot of shell games popping off, and people are going to see like where the standings go, where everybody falls. Yeah. And then we get into the picking your poison aspect. I think the Knicks are excluded from that because they're just going to try to win, and wherever they are, they're going to be. So that is what that is. But I love that. I love that perspective that you have, man. Let's get Dorkosaurus Rex. #Casual Friday. Thoughts on Ariel Huck-Porty, and especially the Ariel Huck-Porty x Tyler Kolek connection. John, the Huck-Porty Hive has entered the chat.
I like it. I like him. I mean, I had obviously never heard of him before the Knicks drafted him, and then I went on and read shout out Sam Vecini on Game Theory Pod, who does the best like college scouting of anyone out there. And it was like, oh, this is exactly the sort of big man that the Knicks like love. It's like a typical Tibbs big man, very limited offensive skill set, but like does all the things that you like Tibbs centers typically need to do. So the outline is there. It's weird. I feel bad. Like I feel like I'm kicking Jericho Sims when he's down. Like if Jericho Sims is this is just kind of is what he is. The opportunity's there for him to steal what I'm calling like that situational role, or those situational minutes. Like I don't think like Sims, Porty, I don't think either of them are going to be like members of the rotation, but there will be opportunities where that spot in the on the roster will be needed to play minutes, whether it's because Cat's injured, or whether it's because Precious is injured, or whether they're playing a bigger team and somebody's in foul trouble, whatever the case may be. So like I could see him beating out Sims. Like I just, but he's a rookie. He's a rookie big man. Big men typically, especially rookie big men, more than most rookies, take time to develop it. So we'll see.
A lot of potential. And that's all we ask for at this point when you're drafting that low. If you have something that could develop into a great NBA player, or at least a functional rotation player.
A rotation spot, yeah.
And you know what that means. Once they got a functional rotation player, that is a trade piece candidate for something else down the line.
Or it opens up the ability to trade somebody else. Like everybody's talking about, like, well, not everybody, but I've mentioned the Precious Achiuwa salary slot as a $6 million salary potentially for outgoing money. Well, you're not going to trade him if he's playing rotation minutes for you, and you don't feel great about anyone you have to take those minutes after you trade him. So there's a lot of benefits if Porty comes in and really shows him something for sure.
Yep. All right, last one from us. Ben, Casual Friday. Does Cat seem much happier on the court? His effects seem super positive and engaged. I think we kind of went through it early. I just wanted to get that up because Ben hit the hashtag. But I don't know. John, he seems like he's Cat. He still seems like he's Cat, bro. Like I don't see anything different.
He has a lot of facial expressions on the court, Yes. And I was like watching the other night, and I was like trying to read Like there was a moment where he like put his head in his hands, but he was laughing about it, and I'm like, he just seems like a really, pun intended, a quirky cat, and I'm looking forward to trying to decipher more of that stuff. He does seem happy, like for sure. I don't know that I have watched enough Timberwolves basketball to sit here and be like, oh, he's happier or he's not as happy, but he seems very happy. Like I think he was enjoying his first go round at the Garden as a home player, which was cool. Sunday will be interesting, playing against, the first time he gets one-on-one with Rudy Gobert, if Rudy plays. I don't know if Rudy's going to play. Or the first time he has to maybe get switched onto Anthony Edwards and he's out there on an island. Like I would imagine there's going to be a big smile across his face, probably a big smile across Edwards' face too. I don't know. I'm excited to see that though. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be surreal, and it's kind of wild that they play a preseason game. And definitely when you get the chance, John, read that Vork article, because a lot of this trade I see from a different lens now that I read the article on how they schedule preseason games. And a part of me wonders, do you schedule the annual Minnesota game just to have those conversations in person to see where they at with moves?
That's funny. I without even reading the article, I could see what you mean by that. I'm gonna go read it.
Right. It's just funny how the puzzle pieces line up when you look at the directions. Right. So yeah, man, I think that is it, Mr. Macri. I think the assembly is coming to a close. My guy, you write a Substack newsletter, the Knicks Film School newsletter. Today's article about Julius Randle, Ode to Randle. Reading it, thinking about it back, I know you had it written and you wrote it. Is there any takeaway or revelation that you had from the article that you may not have had when you were writing it?
Man. Just thank you for the shout out, by the way.
Of course.
Just like it felt like with Julius, the expression, lose sight of the forest for the trees. We were for 5 years. We were in the forest. I hope I'm not screwing up the analogy, but we were in it, right? It was so difficult to ever, for me at least. Others may feel differently. It was so difficult for me to ever fully get perspective on him and his accomplishments, because not only were there games and he was a prominent part of those games, but I didn't feel like there was ever a day that went by where I at least wasn't thinking in the back of my mind, oh, I wonder if and when they're gonna upgrade this spot or that spot, and if that's going to involve Randle, or if it's going to be, whether it was, oh, we got to bring in a player who could fit alongside Randle, or we're going to have to move Randle for a player. It was always just so much uncertainty. And then when you factor in his play on the court, which had ups and downs. So now it was writing that for the first time, I felt like I was able to take a step back and actually look at it and be like, man, this guy, I don't know if he's one of the 10 best Knicks of all time. That's probably a little bit too lofty. But if you wanted to sit there and make the argument to me, I'd hear it. I really would. He's been my God, has he been an important player for this franchise? And I don't know where they'd be if they didn't sign him as an afterthought, really, truly, in 2019. So
I said he was overhated and underappreciated. Some of that both was brought on by himself, but I do think for that high risk, high reward of playing in this market, he took the physical challenge. He signed that deal. He elevated himself to All-Stars, to all NBA selections, and ones that he earned, and not because other people were out. Excuse me, you're right. 3 All-Stars. So what? This year, 3, 4, 2, 3, and 1920.
The last 2 years, and then the second year. So
the second year.
Yeah, 1920. Yep.
Right. 3 All-Stars.
No, not 1920. Sorry, 2021, 22, 23, and 23, 24.
There we go. And then he made All NBA those same years, right? Or he only has 2?
He made it. Yeah, he would have. Well, he made it the first 2, and then last year, people think he would have made it.
Oh, right, because he got hurt. Right, 100%. Yeah. So he has 3 All-Stars, 2 All NBA selections. I continue to say, you take player X and give him Julius Randle's accomplishments, and he doesn't get slandered the way across national media, social media, NBA, Twitter, the way that player gets more praise than Julius Randle does. And I cannot wait for him to cook in Minnesota in some games and someone say, damn, kind of like what some of us are saying about Cat. Like, damn, y'all told me he was trash. I thought that Julius Randle's cooking. Why did the Knicks let him go?
But I know we're over time, but like, to put in perspective how unique he was in the history of the Knicks, if you go to Basketball Reference and you go to the Knicks players tab that lists all their players that have ever played for their franchise, and you group points per game in order, and then rebounds per game in order, and assists per game in order, is only one player who appears on the top 25 of all three of those lists, and it's Julius Randle. Like, he was a beast when he was here. He wasn't perfect. He was far from it at times. But, like, what that dude did and what he managed to accomplish while wearing a Knick uniform is something that I hope gets appreciated more, not less, now that he's gone.
Y'all just heard from Jonathan Macri. John, thank you for joining Casual Friday. It's always a pleasure. I know you're not here often. You're not on this channel often.
I want to be here more. Seriously.
Yeah,
this is fun. I love this.
Have your people call my people. Both our people are Andrew Claudio, so you already know the vibes. You're here. You're going to see more of the KFS faculty. You'll see some special guests, too. This is a party, man. It's the end of the week, and we're talking about our favorite thing, New York Knicks. I'm Jeff Johnson. This is Casual Friday Live. Thank you for tapping in with us. Every Friday, you know where you got to be. Tap in with us. Have a good rest of your Friday, and we'll speak to you soon.